That adds a lot of cost. The temperature is not maintained during that time when it's traveling, so the cheese is not as good quality as it could be. Those are all things that are hindering the development of this artisan cheese industry in Vermont, which is something that has a huge, huge potential. There's about 50 artisan cheesemakers in the state right now. And that's more per capita than anywhere else. We're good on per capita since there's not per capita very many. So all the per capita numbers sound really impressive. As long as we keep the numbers down, we'll stay on top. And so this piece of infrastructure and the volume that they've got by aggregating all of the cheese from these small producers means that when somebody from New York City calls them up and puts an order together for 20 cheese shops and 20 restaurants, they can send pallets and thousands of pounds of cheese down of all these different kinds. So they are able to chase down bills when people aren't paying their bills. They're able to have this, computerized system for ordering and all of that. A dairy farm, and the reason why people get into dairy farming in a lot of cases is not something that they're so interested in doing, is sitting on computers, talking to chefs on the phone while they're trying to clean the gutter in the barn. It's not a skill set that a lot of dairy farmers have, and it's not an interest that a lot of dairy farmers have. So this has been an example in our area of how a piece of infrastructure allows this great potential to actually become something. And then because of the volume, now a refrigerated truck that is dedicated to cheese is going to Boston and New York, as well as places around Vermont, about 3 times a week from this place. This place is off in the middle of nowhere. So it's not on a main drag or more than an hour from any highway. And it's an amazing, amazing thing for me to have seen how that whole thing happened. And they're winning awards for these cheeses left and right, all over the place, internationally as well. So that's one piece of infrastructure I want to tell you about. The other is the Food Venture Center. This is an incubation kitchen. And what it is a 13,000 square foot facility that has everything you need for making various specialty food products, all of the equipment, all of the tools, all of the labeling and nutritional analysis, as well as for specialty meats and specialty cheese. In fact, Jasper Hill is the anchor tenant for the specialty cheese part. And what they're doing is training 2 to 4 new cheese makers each year coming through this that will then anchor themselves on farms and start making on existing dairies. But they're the cheese maker on that dairy to make that cheese, and then get it up to their sellers. And so this is something that you can rent for an hour every Friday, half a day every Friday, every other Tuesday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for 1 week, whatever you want to do. And it's only $20 an hour to rent this place. And it comes with a nutritionist, a marketing person, and a technical assistance provider who shows you how to not break the kettles and the choppers and all those things. And so this facility exists already in Vermont, but they've been in an old building. What I was just describing is their new building that they have already started to construct. When they were looking at where to move to in the state, they looked at where the action was, and they picked our town. And all of this cool stuff is already happening in our town, and now it's just drawing in more. We just had a meadery break ground on a new facility, Honey Wine, and next door to it, with a partner of theirs, a distillery that's using old world recipes and all 100% local products from within 25 miles to make a very interesting assortment of different spirits. It's going to be fun to taste test as they're getting those recipes figured out. So those pieces of infrastructure are just 2 examples. And they are going a long way toward helping new food producers and existing ones. Because the Food Venture Center is not just for new folks, but my friend runs Vermont Soy Company, and they were planning on putting putting in a test kitchen in their facility for making new products out of soy, for testing them, analyzing them, that sort of thing. And as soon as the Food Venture Center made the final commitment to move, then Vermont Soy stopped their plans to put in their kitchen. They saved themselves $100,000 this kitchen was going to cost. Because they'll just rent the facility and use it like their test kitchen. They'll incubate a new product line, even though they're an existing company, as well as folks that have a terrific salsa recipe that they give to everybody at Christmas time in little pint jars that everyone says, you've got to sell that. They'll be able to use it too. So those are two infrastructure pieces. And I'm describing some bigger things because we are really focused in our area on making sure that this is done at enough volume to really provide the positive economic impact and get a lot of food produced for our own community and for the region right around us. So I would love to hear any thoughts or questions on sort of the processing and distribution and infrastructure issues and questions maybe around here. Yeah.
We're in a very good fruit growing area here, and yet I see things like Turkish apricots, raisins that come from California, apple rings that who knows where they're made, all kinds of dried fruit. And yet we got all this beautiful fruit here, but we don't seem to be processing it. I'm just wondering if that's a viable option here.
Sounds good to me. Especially, one of the challenging things, and I don't know how apples work here, but if it's treated as a commodity, meaning that the farmer doesn't decide the price, somebody else tells them what the price is. I'm guessing that's probably how it works. That is a crappy place to be as a farmer. I was talking earlier with Wendy and about an orchard that you know that 2 cents a pound wasn't worth picking. So I think that as much as growers can band together, there's some really great examples of cooperatives that help set price. Organic Valley in the United States is one for organic milk. It's a cooperative of 1,200 organic dairy farms. And the price for milk is a rough thing in the United States. It's often below the cost of production for whatever reason, for small farms anyway. So yeah, I think it's a good thing worth pursuing, both on a large scale and on a smaller scale.
I'm really interested in that thought of people communicating what they're looking for. I'm manufacturing a product, it's a dehydrated product, trying to use a lot of local foods. I'm at the point where I need to expand, but that's a lot of money. I also know there's a huge dehydrator sitting in Summerland that's being used 3 weeks out of the year. It's a $600,000 machine. So is there other things that, small people, businesses can connect and like cooperative have something like this Food Venture Center? That would be just awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and that's exactly what the Food Venture Center is. It's basically aggregating a whole bunch of equipment and making it available to people. So if you had that dehydrator up here in a facility with an assortment of other equipment that could be used by folks, yeah, that would be great. So, yeah, maybe your government will give you some money for that. Our government gave us most of the money for the Food Venture Center.
Really?
Yeah.
Because a lot of food is being wasted in the Okanagan, and only people knew what wonderful food you can make out of excess or surplus. And process of dehydration is an ideal way of preserving food for our winters.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's great. The equipment stuff is a tricky one for small producers to get into because these various types of equipment for food processing don't exist at a small scale.